Hey guys, this is going to be the second entry in the video diary for the CocKnocker backer character. Like I've explained in the previous video, this build mainly relies on knockback and cast on crit and ST. So the way this works is we use Spectral Throw with cast on crit. We have Glacial Cascade and Ball Lightning. The way we knock back, we use Fending. This is chance to knockback and also knockback distance. I don't use a knockback gem because it was actually too much. The mobs would be knocked way too far away, way too fast, and it just wasn't efficient. However, leveling up it might be useful. I used it for a little bit, but it was, you don't have to worry about reflect, so you can use a knockback gem instead. Okay, so the way it works, Ball Lightning. A lot of people think that Ball Lightning with GMP is not very good. We have GMP on our Spectral, which results with GMP on our Ball Lightning. If you deal enough damage, it is very good. However, in this build, it has a special function because even though there's 5 balls and only one of them is dealing damage, the remaining balls still attack the mob, resulting in a knockback. So we can really get a lot of balls going, and they knock back really well, resulting in tremendous damage increase because, well, as long as the ball is on the mob, it keeps on dealing damage and it keeps on knocking back, so it makes for a big difference. Our second skill is Glacial Cascade. It doesn't get affected by GMP, but we actually don't want that because this is our single target. It works pretty much the same way. As long as the mob sits in the Glacial Cascade, it keeps on taking damage. As the mobs get knocked back, they sit in the Glacial Cascade, they ride the tide, and they get dealt a lot of damage to them. They get dealt a lot of... Okay, don't worry about that. Alright, so that's the primary idea of the build. It is an invasion-based build. We are getting a lot more life, however... we're getting all this life. This character is currently level 84, and I think our life is pretty good considering our gear, but I'm gonna show you that later. Of course, for our defense, we also have 40% dodge, currently 44% chance to dodge spells because of its zero step. This will go up to 46 when I get a better pair. And yeah, let's go over the gems, then I'm gonna explain the gear, and later on I'm going to show you some footage of the build clearing gorge, kind of like a semi-speed run, but not really. I'm explaining some things, and I'm gonna talk about pretty much the general questions that I've heard so far, because it seems that people are not very familiar with knockback builds in general. There are questions like, why don't you use arc? Why don't you use a fireball or something like that? It's just, I feel like the build is very unique in a way, and yeah, those things need to be addressed. So if you're only interested in gameplay, go check out that portion of the video. It will be, just skip to it. Alright, the gems. Herald of Thunder, Curse and Hit, Assassin's Mark. Standard setup, we don't need reduced manas. As our reduced manas level up, we only need it in Grace. Later on, it's not a big deal. We will have enough leech. We don't need a lot of mana. RST only costs 20. There is a funny thing where the rounding bugs it, and you see it's 21 at this point if you switch out the gems. So if yours is 21, try and switch around the gems so that it's 20. Yeah, just for it to be better. But yeah, this is our standard setup. We don't get any overnodes, nothing. All we get is a reduced mana or our brace, and that's enough to actually have enough mana to cast everything we want. So we use this obviously to curse the mobs, get us power chargers, very basic setup. Second one is reduced mana, grace, increased duration, vol haste. The increased duration is strictly for vol haste. It does not affect the grace, which does get affected by reduced mana, resulting in less mana cost, allowing us to use 2 heralds and 160% gem. The vol haste is just very good because it's a lot of attack speed, it's a lot of movement speed, great for clear speed increase, and as you're gonna see in the footage later on, yeah, the build has pretty good clear speed. So yeah, it really gives us that extra boost that I think any build needs. Honestly, vol haste should be pretty much used on any build in my opinion, but that's just me. Blood Magic, Whirling Blades, faster attacks. I am currently using this, but in the future I probably won't. I'm probably going to use my Herald of Ice setup that we've got over here, move it over here, get rid of the reduced mana as my reduced mana levels up, so that the mana cost will be better. I mean, I can still use it, but my mana is kind of iffy right now. I don't have enough leech, so it's, you know, that's what we're doing. I don't really need it. As you can see, like, my movement speed's pretty good. Then I pop my Quicksilver. It's, yeah, Whirling Blades doesn't really make up for that difference, especially with a Volhaste running. We just have enough movement speed, in my opinion. So this is probably going to be replaced. But now let's move to the main gems. GMP, Glacial Cascade, Life Leech, Cast on Crit, Spec Throw, Ball Lightning. As you can see, it's a 6-link on a Carcass Jack. I got lucky enough to actually 6-link it myself. But you don't have to use a 6-link. You can use a 5-link. You can use a Tabula Rasa. It's up to you. You can get a single target, which I haven't figured out yet, but we need a proper single target probably when these gems get replaced. Obviously, this is going to be empty. So for now, you can take out a Glacial Cascade and try and get a single target set up, or you can take out Life Leech if you feel like you're on top of your game and you can always have an Atziri Promise up for Reflag. That way, due to using Volpact, you will never have an issue, right? The build is pretty much immune to Reflect as long as you have either Life Leech or Atziri's Promise up. You can also, like, I can also get a Leech on my dagger. I just didn't worry about it just yet. So it can definitely work on a 5-link. You don't have to use a Carcass Jack, completely up to you. I used the 5-link leveling up, wasn't a problem at all. Then I switched up to the Tabula Rasa, which you can also use endgame because the build has a tremendous amount of defense. It is very tanky, as long as you play it right, at least. Okay. Typical cast when damage taken setup: Immortal Call, Enduring Cry, increased duration. Currently the gems are, the cast when damage taken is level 1. As I get more HP, I'm going to increase its level. For now, I should maybe start leveling it soon. But yeah, I like to level it around 5k HP just so I don't get one shot completely, you know? For me, it's pretty important, but this is personal taste in all seriousness. And like I explained before, Curse and Hit, Reduced Mana, Assassin's Mark, Herald of Ice. The reason why this is so good and why it is a separate setup, it would be cool to stick this in there, but it's better for us to get both setups and just, yeah, get rid of that so that we have a 4-link instead of a 3-link and just get rid of this. But the reason why this is so cool and why it's kind of necessary is because everything works in waves with this build, you know? The way ST goes out slowly, the mobs on the front lines die, and then it keeps on traveling back and back. So everything pretty much gets frozen. So as the mobs freeze and die, the next ones get cursed, and this keeps going. Everything, you know, gets cursed. Everything gets affected by the additional damage out of this curse, the additional crit chance that we don't really need because it's snapshots. As in, it hits as your first attack hits the first mob. That attack's crit gets calculated off of the initial hit, right? So only the first mob needs to be cursed. That's why Herald of Thunder is so good. But yeah, this is definitely something you want. I'm gonna explain the gear now, I think. Yeah, sure. Let's go over the gear and then we're gonna go over the passives. So I have a pretty mediocre dagger. As you can see, no attack speed, pretty mediocre crit. It has some crit multiplier. It has really good crit multiplier. It has very low crit strikes chance, and it has very low spell damage hybrid. I can get Life Leech on this. I didn't worry about it because really nothing is ever a problem, and I leech like a crazy person, so yeah. But you would definitely want a better dagger. This is like a 5 callus dagger. Rat's Nest is way too good not to use for a build like this, in my opinion. You can get up to 75% global crit, which also affects our spells, so that's incredibly good. It has 648 evasion, very good. 15 attack speed, which you could never get on an element, like the crit. The rarity always helps. The movement speed is amazing for clear speed, and the reduced character size makes it look like we are using some sort of, you know, zoom hack or something, but obviously we're not. Our character is just small. So the only downside to this is not having life, but like I said, the character has a lot of life. I've already pre-recorded the footage for the map, and it's like a vulnerability, exile something map. So in general, pretty freaking rippy, and you're gonna see how it turns out. Pretty much take no damage and clear like crazy. So Rat's Nest, in my opinion, very much worth it. It's just too good to let go. I currently have a pretty okay shield. It doesn't have a lot of evasion, but it has a lot of resists, which makes it that our jewelry doesn't have to have a lot of resists. This is very late into the league. This is a Bloodlines league. It's very late into the league, so it's just difficult to get gear. You know, nobody's online pretty much. It's very difficult to get gear. So something like this works very well. Carcass Jack. I've talked about this before. Carcass Jack is very good, but it's not a necessity. Obviously, the AoE helps us a lot. The resistant life we don't really care about. The extra gore looks awesome, but the AoE stuff really helps us out a lot. Glacial Cascade and Ball Lightning benefit greatly from increased AoE. So, if you can get one, I recommend it. If you can't get one, it's no big deal. I only started using one around, I don't even know, like 75 or something. So very late. For our jewelry, you want to get something with life, you want to get something with int, you want to get something with crit multi, all that kind of stuff. So you can see my jewelry, oh, and accuracy, of course. My jewelry is pretty below average, but I really have no options for it. You can see I have some int there. I highly recommend you get at least like 40 int or something on one or two pieces of jewelry, because int is a little bit of a problem. It's not really a problem if you have, you know, gear available to you, but yeah, you can see that this is pretty average jewelry worth, you know, a couple chaos altogether at most. You can definitely get something better. Really garbage gloves, but I need the mana leech, so that's what we're going with currently. You might switch these out to Malagaros later on, which will give you a lot of damage. Again, the only downside is the fact that they don't have life, but they give you so much deeps that it might be worth it once you get enough life from the skill tree, etc. We do get like 200% life. I just need more levels. That's pretty much it. Like any cast and crit character, it's just really level dependent. So yeah, really good belt in my opinion, at least. You could obviously get more life. We don't care about the armor or energy shield, but it has a lot of life, and well, it has okay life, and then on top of it, it has okay resist. So actually, this is like a 5-6 chaos belt, but you know, it works for me. Our best in slot boots are at 0 step. Obviously, life, capped movement speed, and then chance to dodge spells is very helpful on top of the 650 evasion that it's got. Pretty freaking amazing. I don't think there's anything better than this. It just gives you so much survivability, so much mobility, everything. It's pretty great. I highly recommend you use those. Maybe you can get better rare boots, but I like that. I like the chance to dodge spells. For our flasks, I use a instant of heat, right? A seeding of heat, then a seeding of staunching, very helpful. At Ziri's Promise, I think it's a necessity. It gives so much damage to Glacial Cascade and everything else. It's just so helpful. And on top of it, you can be pretty much immune to Reflect to use it. It's not bubbled up, but don't worry about it. Surgeon's Jade of Warding. I kind of would like this to be Surgeon's Jade of Reflexes so that we can have doubled evasion. But, you know, this is what I've got. This is what I'm going with. I can't really roll anything right now because I don't have the alterations, but it still works out great because you do need a curse immunity. And this is a Surgeons of Adrenaline. I would like, if I would get the other flask, I would like this to be Surgeons of Warding, right? We don't really need that much movement speed. This helps, obviously, but having a warding is a necessity in any build, and we do need these. You can maybe replace this with a warding, but it's kind of up to you. The passive skill tree. So as you can see, we've progressed a lot. It turns out Scion was definitely the better choice. We do not lack damage. We don't need to start Shadow. Attack speed is king. So we've progressed a lot. So you start off Scion. You go True Strikes, very helpful. I'm only going to go over the bigger notables. So True Strikes, obviously crit, we need crit, we're a custom crit build, allows us to cap out our crit at, 100% with the curse, so that's pretty amazing, but you can still get 95 even without the curse if you have a proper dagger. Reflexes, tons of evasion, very needed. We go up, coordination is a great node, lots of attack speed, like I said, attack speed is king. Blood Siphon, just a lot of life. Trickery, crit, elemental damage, int, very, very helpful, you really need the int especially. All this crit. I've chosen to go through here, however, it's basically a choice between 10 int or 5 movement speed. It's completely up to you. I've chosen to do this just for clear speed because I thought the jewelry is not going to be a problem, but it's kind of a problem. I underestimated the deadness of the league. So again, up to you. We get up to Night Stalker. Basic crit nodes. We use a dagger, so this is very much needed. This is 5% efficient, and we get DES and 10 strength on top of it, so we pick up life nodes over here, so this is definitely efficient. Written in Blood is a good choice. Obviously get the power charge. You have to waste 1 travel point here, but it's not a big deal because we get access to Death Perception and Blood Drinker, which is, if we count this as a 5% node and exclude the leech, well, the leech doesn't really matter. It essentially results in this being a 5% nodes, and we get access to Death Perception for free, which is amazing. Revenge of the Haunted, we're an evasion build, gives us tons of evasion, obviously phase acrobatics and phase acrobatics, tons of survivability, Heartseeker, tons of damage and tons of chance to crit. Some people might question this, but in my opinion, Heartseeker is at least 3 points, well, it's at least 2 points, then this is another one, so I'd say this is definitely worth the travel. Then Herbalism is a 10%, so this is a 5% effectiveness because of the 1 point of traveling, so it only leaves us with 2 points to get Ondar's Gal. I'm not a big fan of getting Ondar's Gal on builds that don't have problems with Reflect, but I figured that 2 points, I mean, it's really worth it, in my opinion. Sentinel, just a travel point, but it helps us out a lot. Again, evasion build, elemental resistance, always helpful. Constitution, a lot of life. We obviously pick up this entire life wheel. We pick up Heart Killer later on. I still haven't picked up the AoE nodes over here, but this comes with levels. We get down here, Volpact is a necessity to protect ourselves against Reflect, like I've explained before. Berserking is a really efficient node, so definitely pick up Berserking once you get enough levels. Eagle Eye, accuracy, crit, what more do you want? And then Fending are, I don't know, build enabling cluster, so definitely focus on getting this soon. I'm gonna explain how to level this a little bit more in a bit. And then this is kind of questionable. Well, I mean, it's not. To some people, it might look questionable, but I'll explain my reasoning for this. So we have to essentially spend 3 travel points. I mean, the int point, whatever. Let's say that these 3 are travel points, even though they give us stuff that is useful. So bravery, to me, bravery is at least 2 points because of the life and the evasion. So we can disclude, let's say we disclude Master of the Arena, we keep on traveling, all of this is efficient, and then we get Art of the Gladiator, which is 12 attack speed, 20 accuracy, and movement speed and dexterity. So to me, this is at least 3 points, so we can disclude this, Attack speed by itself is 2 points, accuracy is 1 point, and then the movement speed from ignoring the penalties is huge. So in my opinion, this is definitely worth it, but some people might question it. And yeah, for leveling, just rush crit. That's what I did. I basically went over here, I went all the way to Shadow, I went over here, picked up, Night Stalker. I picked up Death Perception really late because you don't need the accuracy, and then you go down here and pick up Eagle Eye. You don't get any of this stuff just yet. Obviously, pick up stuff like Constitution, simply because it's a lot of life. Blood Siphon is just a lot of life, helps you with leveling. And this is about 40 points. I did this, I was around level 43 when I started using this build, and to my surprise it was pretty great. You guys saw it on the live stream, and it was working out pretty freaking well. I thought that, like with most cast on crit builds, it's just very annoying to level, but apparently daggers are kind of an exception. If you can pick up all this crit, it's just very nice. I think that's about it. I think we went over everything. I'm still gonna release a guide, so to say, for this, because this is still a diary. I still have to figure some things out, so I'm still gonna release a guide for it. But if you want to get started with the build, if you don't care if this isn't everything that's that's going to be end game with the build, you can get started. I will be playing it for a little bit more. I'm probably gonna get level 90 today, and yeah, we're gonna move on to the gameplay section, so to say, so you guys can see how the build turns out. This is a level 84 character, and that will be a level 74 map. I'm gonna clear it gorge. So yeah, check it out. Have fun, guys.